In a world where light is often manufactured through imitation, only a very small group, about 1%, carry a different kind of aura. They do not seek admiring eyes, nor do they try to stand out. Their mere presence is enough to shift the atmosphere in a room, enough to make others suddenly pause, as if awakened from a familiar dream. If you have ever made someone feel both drawn to you and unsettled, ever felt yourself to be too different to blend into the crowd, or ever wondered why people approach you only to pull away when you do not become the version they expected, then it is very likely that you carry a rare kind of aura. Carl Jung believed that true power does not lie in constructing a perfect persona, but in daring to look directly at both the light and the shadow within oneself. And from this honesty, a special kind of energy is born, one that can touch the truest part of others, making it impossible for them to keep pretending when they are near you. In today's video, we will explore 8 signs that you belong to the 1% who carry this rare aura, those who do not need the spotlight, yet leave a deep and lasting mark. And if you have ever felt too different to belong, perhaps this journey is meant for you. Number 1. You unsettle people without doing anything at all. Have you ever walked into a room, said nothing, yet felt the air subtly shift? As if a wave of static electricity just swept through, the way some people subtly adjust their posture, eyes darting around for a point of focus, while the lively conversation halts for a split second. It is not because you are trying to make an impression. You do not dress unusually, nor do you have an overly striking appearance. It is simply that your presence alone is enough to cause a slight shift in everything around you, something invisible, yet undeniably real. And strangely, you do not have to do anything. Carl Jung called this phenomenon archetypal tension, the tension that arises when archetypes in the human unconscious are stirred before they are brought into conscious awareness. When you carry a rare energy, a special kind of aura, you unconsciously become a mirror that reflects the unnamed depths within others. You are present in truth. Not the truth laid bare in a harsh way, but a quiet truth from within, without a mask, without contorting yourself to meet expectations. In a world accustomed to pretending in order to please others, such honesty becomes disruptive. It pierces the unconscious defenses of those you meet, leaving them unsettled without knowing why. A friend once told me that at a small reunion with former colleagues, within minutes, she could sense everyone's gaze becoming more cautious. No one said it out loud, but the atmosphere gradually shifted from relaxed to guarded. It was not because she said anything cutting, it was because her silence, natural, unforced, uneager to blend in, made others feel exposed, as if they were being made to look inward, though no one asked them to. A strong aura does not need to be loud. It transmits like delicate waves, like you have opened an invisible door into uncharted layers of someone else's being. And not everyone is ready to walk through that door. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances. If there is any reaction, point the world needs. A place calm enough, real enough, to make others listen to what they have never dared to hear from themselves. A strong aura does not need to prove itself. All you have to do is be yourself, and sometimes that alone is a quiet revolution. However, when you carry a frequency so distinct that it makes others cautious, you may also carry an invisible burden, something vague, unnamed, that even you cannot quite put into words. Number 2. You carry something heavy that you cannot name. There is a kind of weariness that does not come from work, nor entirely from physical or emotional strain. It is a heaviness that feels vague, like carrying something on your shoulders that does not belong solely to you. A deep sadness whose origin you cannot pinpoint. Something you know but cannot explain in words. You feel it like a faint mist that hovers around you. You cannot name it, cannot explain it, yet it is always there. It does not leave. Carl Jung called this the collective unconscious, a deep layer of the mind where memories, symbols, and experiences accumulated over thousands of years are stored. Every person carries a part of it, but only a few can hear it more clearly, and you may be one of them. For you, sensing comes before reasoning. You do not need someone to tell you or explain. You still know when something is stirring in them. You can walk into a space and instantly feel your heart grow heavy, not because the place is sad, but because you are picking up on nameless energies that exist there. Living with such sensitivity often leaves you feeling like you stand between two worlds, one of logic, evidence, and explanation, and another of intuition, feeling, and the unspoken, things no one else understands but you. You still live, still smile, still converse. But deep down, a voice whispers, "What am I carrying? And why does no one else feel the same?" You may have sat among friends, yet felt alone, not because they disliked you, but because they could not tune into the frequency you are on. As if you were in a parallel version of reality, where untold stories, uncomforted souls still quietly exist. Jung once said, "The collective unconscious consists of the sum of the instincts and their correlates, the archetypes." So what you feel, though it has no clear reason, may be the echoes of ancient memories rising within you. Not everyone can hear them, but you can. I once met a teacher of young children. She had never studied psychology, nor read about energy. But by looking into a child's eyes, she could immediately tell if something had happened at home that day. No reasoning, just a certain knowing inside her. And she was always right. A therapist once said, "There are people who carry eyes as if they have lived many lives. They don't need to ask. Simply being with them makes you feel heard." You may have heard people say the same of you, that you make them feel lighter, even when you say nothing at all. But carrying such sensitivity is not always easy. You know, but cannot say. You feel, but no one understands. And so you begin to doubt yourself. Am I too sensitive? Am I just imagining things? Do not doubt it. You are not imagining. You are listening to a part of life that modern society has grown accustomed to ignoring. The place where the memories of humanity, of the soul, of history still speak through you. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to rationalize what you feel. If you have ever known something would happen, and it did. If someone opened their heart to you with nothing more than a glance, If you have felt your spirit sink at the sight of a stranger's weary eyes in a cafe, that is your proof. You are not a dreamer. You are connected, and you carry a piece of memory that belongs not only to you, but to humanity itself. And if you have ever carried a deep, unnamed feeling, a sadness without an origin, or an intuition no one believed, share your story in the comments. You may find that you are not alone. Number 3. You make others feel seen, even when you are not trying. Have you ever sat with someone, simply listening, not asking probing questions, not trying to analyze, and yet they still open up to you as if shedding a heavy coat? They tell you things they have never told anyone. Fears, wounds, thoughts they have kept hidden. And then they retreat. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your presence, gentle as it is, touched a deep place within them, a place they themselves are not yet ready to face. Carl Jung called this the manifestation of the mirror archetype. Those who carry this energy do not need to try to make others seen, but their authenticity and stillness cause others to feel reflected. Not a reflection of outward appearance, but of the inner world, the parts hidden beneath masks, habits, or unconscious self-defense. You do not intentionally see through anyone, but your sincere and clear presence is like a flat, unclouded mirror, revealing what the other has never named. And not everyone is ready to look into such a mirror. And when light shines into a place too used to darkness, it will at first cause a glare. That does not diminish its value. If you have ever experienced a deep connection only to have someone turn away, remember, it is not because you are not enough. It is because the light you bring made them see what they were not ready to face. And that is uncomfortable. But sometimes, their retreat is the first step in their real growth. You do not need to do anything but remain yourself, authentic, still, unforcing. One day, someone will be ready to stand in your light. They will not retreat, will not avoid, will not look away. They will stay, not because you make them happy, but because you make them real. And that is the greatest gift you can give, not through words, but through the quiet, profound energy of your presence. Number 4. You walk through life with the feeling of belonging nowhere. When you are someone who carries such light, someone who unknowingly makes others reflect on themselves, you are also often someone who must learn to walk alone. Not because you are unloved, but because you begin to realize no place truly holds the depth of who you are. You may have tried to fit in, to be friendly, easy to understand, to match the environment around you. But no matter how tactfully you speak, how warm you try to be, there remains a deep truth. You do not belong here. Not to that conversation, not to that relationship, not to that mold. As if you are living in two worlds, one busy, loud, structured, full of expectations and roles, and another much deeper, where life moves through feeling, intuition, silence, and truth. Carl Jung called this the journey of an individuated soul, a soul walking the path toward wholeness. When a person begins to awaken, they no longer follow the crowd as they once did. They begin to ask questions. They feel more deeply. They withdraw from falsehood. And this makes them no longer fit the old world. Not because you are strange, but because you are changing. You pass through parties without excitement. You sit among close friends, yet feel like an outsider. You are in a familiar home, yet your spirit feels as if it is wandering far away. Not because you are lonely, but because you hear another call, a quiet but undeniable call, pulling you closer to your truest self. I once heard a woman tell a story I never forgot. She was a highly successful manager in a large corporation. Everyone admired her, saying she had it all: money, status, leadership skills. But each night, coming home, she felt as though she was living someone else's life. She began withdrawing, avoiding social gatherings, and no longer fit with her old friends. Once, she tried to force herself back into the old rhythm, dining out, laughing, keeping up appearances, but returned home feeling emptier than ever. Only when she admitted, "I'm not wrong. I'm simply becoming someone else," did the sense of displacement begin to give way to peace. You may be in that phase too, a stage where everything that once made you feel fine no longer fills you. This does not mean you are regressing. It means you are moving toward your true self. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." The feeling of belonging nowhere is not a sign you are wrong. It is a sign you are awakening. You are shedding the old shell, crossing the space between two worlds, moving closer to a place where you do not need to act, to fit, only to be. And sometimes that feeling of displacement is the most precious gift, because it forces you to search within instead of chasing outward. It draws you into a silent dialogue with yourself, where you begin to ask, what is true? What is mine? What lightens my heart without effort? Perhaps right now you cannot see your place, but trust that it is not a house, a group, or a title. It is when you begin to feel at ease in your own skin, comfortable alone, and no longer needing to belong anywhere, because you already belong to yourself. If you are still quietly carrying your own light, leave a small symbol, a crescent moon, a candle, or anything representing the part of you that needs no words. Somewhere out there, another soul like yours might see it and realize, they are not alone. Number 5. You are often misunderstood because you communicate beyond words. You do not speak much. You are not quick to jump into loud conversations, nor are you eager to express feelings in flowery language. But that does not mean you do not feel or do not understand. On the contrary, you feel deeply, often before anything is spoken. And because of this, you are often misunderstood. Some think you are hard to approach because you do not joke like they do. Some say you are cold, simply because you do not join in endless chatter. Some call you unpredictable or distant. Even though you have done nothing, you are simply being yourself. Carl Jung once said that most people live unconsciously without knowing it. They function by habit, reflex, and social conditioning, without truly listening inward. Did not fill the silences. Yet within minutes, he felt as though he was being seen through, even though she did nothing. At the end of the date, he said he felt pressured. But months later, he sought her out again, admitting, "You didn't say anything wrong. You just made me look at things I wasn't ready to see." Your aura can do that, not with words, but with a presence gentle yet so true that it brings to light what others are avoiding within themselves. Have you ever been left because you didn't share enough, even though you always listened? Been called difficult to approach, though you never refused connection? This is the natural consequence of living truthfully in a world run on expectation, speed, and noise. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Which means, when someone does not understand you, it is not necessarily because you are too different, but because they are not ready to face the part of themselves being mirrored. You do not need to be loud to be loved. You do not need to explain yourself to be accepted. Your aura does not need applause. It only needs space to exist unaltered, without being forced into digestible form for someone's comfort. And the comforting truth is, you are not alone. There are others like you, living quietly in depth, also misunderstood, also waiting for someone still enough to hear what is left unsaid. And if you are reading this, perhaps you are one of them. Number 6. You attract people who want to change you, then get angry when you don't. There is a very common paradox among those with a strong aura. They attract others, yet they are also the ones who end up disappointing them. You may have heard this before. I've never met anyone like you. At first, it's a compliment, full of fascination and curiosity. But a few months later, the same person might say, I don't know what you're thinking. Or, I'm tired of feeling like you're always in your own world. That's when you realize they never truly loved your real self. They loved the idea of you. Carl Jung called this the clash between the individuated self, a person who has become authentic and psychologically independent, and collective projections, the expectations others project onto you. When you are not easy to understand, not easy to control, and do not live to please or fit, you become something that makes them uncomfortable, a free embodiment, impossible to tame. It is like the image of the forest maiden in folklore. Everyone is enchanted by her mysterious beauty. They enter the forest, thinking they can possess that magic, bring her home, dress her in the town's style. But the maiden is still the maiden of the woods. She doesn't belong in the house. She still slips out to the stream at midnight, speaks to the birds, and spends hours silently watching a leaf fall. And then they accuse her, you refuse to fit in. But she's not wrong. She's just herself. You are the same. You draw people in with your depth, your stillness, your difference. But then they start expecting you to behave more like a normal person, to talk more, to smile at the right times, to respond faster, to show just enough emotion. And when you don't, they feel let down and blame you. You never intend to hurt anyone. You just live at your own rhythm, slower, deeper. And that less is misinterpreted as lacking, as distant, even though you have never been shallow with anyone. A friend once told me her boyfriend said, I feel like you're always holding something back, never showing me everything. But when I asked her, were you being untrue? She shook her head. I was honest. I listened. I shared important things. I'm just not good at the sweet talk or grand gestures he wanted. And that's the problem. They don't see in you the expressions they expect, so they assume you don't have the feelings, even though you love with loyalty, with patience, by being there whenever they need you. But because you don't love in ways they easily recognize, they think you don't love. A strong aura works on a different frequency. Those who can't tune in will think you're silent. But you're not silent. You simply don't operate by their familiar reference points. And when you don't change to fit their expectations, they begin to see you as the problem. They call you difficult, hard to read. Then they withdraw. But deep down, there is an unconscious frustration. Why didn't you become the version they imagined? That frustration isn't because you did something wrong. It's because you shattered an illusion they were holding on to. In a society that values being easy to understand, people like you make others uneasy. They can't handle the ambiguity you create. They can't stand not knowing what you're thinking. And instead of learning to listen more deeply, they conclude, you need to change. But change for what? To fit their expectations? You've tried before and felt suffocated. You've tried being more cheerful, more normal, only to be so drained you barely recognized yourself. You were not born to fit every mold. You are not a square stone processing sensitivity, a trait found in only about 15 to 20% of people whose nervous systems are more finely tuned. According to Dr. Elaine Aron, those in this group do not just hear or see more clearly, they process every signal through a deeper emotional layer, making each experience leave a stronger imprint on the mind. You are like a violin strung tight. From the outside, no one sees the difference, but the slightest emotional breeze makes you vibrate instantly. That vibration is not loud, not performed, but real and deep. And not everyone can hear that subtle sound except you. Someone once told me, "I can't stand seeing someone sad, even if they never say a word. I go home, and the feeling stays with me all night. It's not mine, but it's still there." And I understood, because you, like her, don't just live with your own emotions. You absorb the unspoken feelings of others. That's why you get tired. Not from work, not from conflict, but from living in a world full of unseen waves you can hear, one by one. You've tried to block it out, to make yourself more normal, less sensitive. But soon enough, you find yourself drawn back to the eyes that smile sadly, to unfinished stories, to songs with quiet endings. Because you cannot not feel. It's in your design. Once a friend told me about a child in her class. The girl never spoke up, always sat at the back. But when the teacher changed her desk, the girl quietly cried. No one understood why. Only one perceptive teacher realized. That seat was the only place she could see the tree outside the window, the one thing that gave her peace each day. You are like that. You grieve over what others overlook. But sadly, because you do not display your feelings in dramatic ways, people assume you're fine. They do not see you collapse. They do not see you rage, so they think you don't feel anything. But inside you is a silent symphony, rich, layered, that only you are tuned to hear. Jung once said, "A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them." And that is you, the one who has traveled through nameless depths within, even if no one knows how many times you have had to hold yourself steady to keep the surface calm. And so you get used to staying quiet, not speaking of the pain, not explaining the fatigue. No one asks what you truly feel. You are like a deep lake, calm on the surface, but with an emotional ecosystem beneath that only the brave dare dive into. But the truth is, you don't need anyone to understand. You only need someone patient enough not to fear your depth. And you need to learn to return to yourself, so that even if no one sees, you still know exactly how you are vibrating inside. Because the more you deny that sensitivity, the more you break. But if you learn to care for it, you will become a light for the unspoken souls. And perhaps because you feel so deeply, within you there is already a wound and a gift hidden inside it. No one sees it, but it is there, quietly shaping the way you love, live, and show up. Number 8. You were born with a wound and a gift hidden within. Not everyone grows up with the feeling that they have lost something from the very start. But you have. From an early age, you have felt you did not fully fit, not just in a group of friends or in a certain environment, but in the way this world operates. You sense something out of rhythm. Even if you live properly, doing everything people call right, you still feel empty. No one has mistreated you, but you still feel a sharpness somewhere unnamed, as if a wound existed before you even knew what hurt was. You are like a child born in the meadow, yet hearing a call from a deep forest no one has entered. You do not know where the call comes from. You only know it is real. And if you ignore it, you will feel yourself wither day by day, even while smiling, living, having everything. Carl Jung once wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." Awakening cannot come through easy lessons. It only comes when you touch the wound you have long avoided and realize what you call a flaw is where the light can enter. I once heard the story of Lady Gaga, an artist with a unique, untamable energy. As a child, she felt she was too much, too strange, too different. She was bullied, isolated, and often felt she had to hide her creativity and depth to be accepted. But from those wounds, she began to write music as a way to say what no one would hear. From loneliness, she created songs that touched millions of hearts, reaching a level of stage brilliance few achieve. And when asked why she fights for sensitive souls, she replied, "Because I know what it feels like when no one believes you're worthy." Your wound is the same. It is not here to block you. It is the path you must walk to become more fully yourself. You do not need to heal it all at once. You only need the courage to sit with it, like an old friend, and ask, "What have you come to teach me?" You were not you've never said out loud, then perhaps you are one of that 1%. Do not let the world make you doubt it. Leave a dot, a symbol, or just a simple word, so I know you are here, still quietly carrying your own light. And if you are ready to live more truthfully, without asking permission, hit follow and turn on the bell. Not to become someone else, but to remember, you never needed to be anything other than yourself, because you as you are is the rare thing the world has been quietly waiting to meet. Have you ever wondered why there are women who don't have to try, yet every gaze seems to stop at them? Not because of beauty, not because of status, but because of a kind of energy that's hard to describe, both serene and profound, as if they carry within them an ancient story your soul unconsciously wants to hear. Even when they don't seek attention, their mere presence changes the atmosphere. Everything slows down, becomes quieter, heavier with meaning. People call them many names, mature beyond their years, deep, mysterious. But in truth, they are simply old souls living in a shallow world. Women who have loved deeply, hurt deeply, and seen the essence of humanity, and thus no longer need to compete or prove anything. Carl Jung believed that the human soul carries memories beyond time. Some people seem to have lived through many lifetimes, carrying within them the wisdom of things never spoken. And that is what makes them different, not in how they live, but in how they exist. In today's video, we will go deep into that journey with 12 things only women with old souls do, subtle signs, quiet and easily overlooked. But once you understand them, you'll know why they are always different. And perhaps you are one of them. Number 1. The hunger that no material can satisfy. There are mornings when a woman wakes up in her familiar room, the white porcelain cup, the little plant by the window, a stable job, a full bank account. Yet amid all the things that are supposed to make her happy, there's a hollow space she cannot name. It's not sadness, not exhaustion, but a quiet ache in the soul, a longing for something deeper. A question burns softly in her heart. All of this, what does it really mean? A soul that has passed through many layers of experience cannot rest in shallowness. Fame, wealth, praise, none of it is enough. Every goal the world celebrates now feels like a thin shell, beneath which lies a call to return to what truly matters. Carl Jung called this the beginning of individuation, the process by which the soul separates from collective conditioning to return to its true essence. And that journey often begins with a hunger the world can't understand. A young soul might ask, I have everything, so why do I still feel empty? But an old soul knows that is awakening, the invitation to go deeper, beyond the surface of life, to touch the essence of existence. I once heard the story of a woman in New York. Everything in her life was on track. A high-paying job, a beautiful apartment, weekend coffee with friends. Then one morning, in a crowded cafe, she suddenly broke down in tears. Everything I'm chasing, she said, is just to fill a void that nothing can fill. Soon after, she quit her job, turned to depth psychology, Greek philosophy, ancient texts about the soul. People thought she had lost her way, but in truth, she had found the path her soul had always known. For old souls, knowledge isn't about display, it's about remembering. Every book, every quote from Jung feels like the awakening of a sleeping memory. They don't learn to know more, but to come home. When that light turns on, they begin to see life differently. The surface no longer excites them. They listen deeper, sense what others overlook. When someone asks, "Why don't you want as much as before?" Is the thread connecting humanity across time. That's why old souls often feel a strange familiarity with ancient things, as if they are remembering a language once spoken, a rhythm once lived. Like a migratory bird that always finds its way home, no matter how far the wind blows it, the soul too has its compass. Whenever she encounters something that matches her frequency, an old poem, a sacred symbol, a slow melody, she instantly recognizes it, even if she's never seen it before. And in that moment, something deep inside her relaxes, as if she's found where she belongs. Others might dismiss it as vague nostalgia, but for her it's memory of the essence, because old souls don't just carry their own memories, they carry the memory of humankind. When she touches that depth, she feels peace, as though the deepest part of her can finally exhale. That is the quiet gift of old souls. They carry within them the memory of the world. They don't need proof. They only need to feel. They don't seek answers. They listen to echoes from afar. For sometimes, awakening doesn't come from learning something new, but from realizing your soul has always known, and now it simply remembers. Number 3. Deep empathy for the pain of others. Women with old souls don't just feel their own lives, they feel the whole world. When someone hurts, they don't just understand, they ache with them. The sadness in another's eyes makes their own chest tighten. A cruel word, an injustice, a lost soul, all can stay with them for hours. Carl Jung called this the expansion of consciousness, when the boundary between me and others begins to blur. They no longer separate themselves from the world, but feel as part of it, as Jung wrote. In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. I once met a nurse like that. She said the hardest part of her job wasn't the work itself, but the way patients' pain clung to her heart. When she saw a young mother pass away, she cried for the children left behind. She knew she couldn't save everyone, yet she couldn't detach, as others advised. "How can I detach?" she said. "We're all human, trembling, afraid, loving." Women like this can heal without ever calling themselves healers. They soothe others through presence, through eyes that truly listen, through compassion free of judgment. But that gift is also a burden, because when you feel more, you tire more. Many nights they lie awake, not for their own sorrow, but for a stranger's pain that hasn't left their heart. Eventually, they learn to turn empathy into wisdom, to love without dissolving, to touch without losing themselves. Jung believed that only by facing our own darkness can we truly understand another's. Through suffering, they discover that pain doesn't separate people, it reminds them they are one. Thus, women with old souls don't fear tears, their own or others'. They know every tear holds a seed of compassion. And perhaps it's this compassion that is the only light bright enough to heal the world. If you've ever felt heavy-hearted for a stranger's sorrow, or cried for pain that wasn't yours, that's okay. It simply means your soul is deep enough to feel the world as yourself. If you've ever carried sadness that didn't belong to you, if you've felt another's suffering as your own, share your story in the comments. Because somewhere among those reading, there may be another soul learning to feel without dissolving, waiting to know someone understands. Number 4. Serenity in chaos. After moving through deep emotional layers, knowing emptiness, feeling empathy to the point of breaking, the woman with an old soul enters a new stage. Serenity amid chaos. Not because she's numb, but because she's seen the essence of every storm. She knows no storm lasts forever, and within each chaos lies a secret order. Carl Jung called this the transcendent function, the ability of consciousness to hold the tension between opposites without breaking. Jung believed spiritual maturity doesn't come from choosing one pole, light or dark, positive or negative, but from being able to hold both. When one learns not to identify with emotion, they become a witness to their own soul. They no longer get swept away by every wave. They become the ocean itself. I think of Etty Hillesum, the Jewish woman imprisoned in a Nazi camp. While the world around her crumbled, she wrote in her diary, "Inside me there is a deep well, and in that well there is God. Sometimes the well is covered with stones and sand, but the water is always there." In the hell of mankind, she kept absolute stillness, not because she was blind to suffering, but because she understood within every tragedy flows a sacred current. She wrote letters to comfort fellow prisoners, helping them remember their humanity amid darkness. Today, neuroscience confirms what Jung once intuited. During meditation or mindful observation, the brain's calm regulating prefrontal cortex activates while the fear-driven amygdala quiets down. Simply put, serenity is not the absence of emotion. I didn't predict it, she said. I just heard the whisper of what was coming. Jung wrote, "Intuition gives outlook and insight. It revels in the garden of magical possibilities as if they were real." That is the gift of old souls, sensing the unseen before the world names it. But that gift also brings loneliness. Not everyone understands the language of intuition. So she learns to observe quietly, without needing to prove or be believed. Like a lone climber walking first through fog, she sees the path while others still doubt there is one. Intuition without balance can overwhelm, but when integrated with reason, it becomes guidance, a compass for the deep sea. It isn't loud, it isn't boastful, but it always points to truth. So when she feels that something is shifting, she doesn't panic, she listens. She knows that, like all old souls, she's simply sensing the first breeze of a new season the world has yet to name. And even if she must walk alone, she walks, because deep down she knows. Pioneers always walk a step ahead, not to prove, but to make the way. Number 6. Needing solitude like air. After sensing the world's undercurrents, the woman with an old soul turns to silence. Not because she rejects people, but because she knows solitude isn't escape, it's return. In that quiet, the mind stops shouting, and the soul begins to speak. The modern world teaches us to fear silence. Every gap is filled with noise, notifications, endless chatter. But for old souls, solitude is not frightening. It's as natural and necessary as breathing. In that space, she rearranges emotions, unties inner knots, and finds her real voice amid the noise. In the Bible it's written, "God was not in the wind, nor in the earthquake, nor in the fire, but in the gentle whisper." And that is what she deeply understands. She doesn't need the world to shout truth at her. She finds the divine, or herself, in the whisper of silence. Many mistake solitude for weakness or disconnection. But for her, it is where true connection begins, not with the outer world, but with her inner one. Solitude becomes her place of rebirth, where she removes roles and expectations, becoming once again a humble student of life. Sitting alone in a small room, sunlight spilling through the window, everything slows down. She hears her breath, her heartbeat, her unspoken thoughts. It's not loneliness, it's intimacy with her soul. From that stillness, direction, clarity, and faith emerge. Carl Jung said, "Solitude is for me a fount of healing which makes my life worth living." The woman with an old soul knows this. She doesn't avoid the world but refuses to be swallowed by it. She goes out to give and returns to recharge, like the rhythm of the universe, like the moon needing darkness to shine. If you've ever felt peace in being alone, that's not odd, it's maturity. It means your soul knows love and serenity come not from others, but from full presence with yourself. Old souls are not afraid of solitude. They only fear losing themselves in the crowd. So before we continue, pause, take a deep breath, and feel the silence surrounding you. No rush, no doing, just presence. If you've ever found peace in moments alone, reading on a rainy night, watching sunlight through curtains, or simply listening to your heartbeat, write one word in the comments: solitude. Sometimes, just by admitting, "I'm not lonely, I'm returning to myself," you open a new depth of peace. And perhaps, in that very moment you realize, silence too has a sound, the sound of your soul healing. Number 7. Detaching from material illusion. How can someone who once lived under the bright lights of the world suddenly yearn for simplicity. For women with old souls, it's not boredom or renunciation. It's a quiet awakening that follows the experience of enough. They have tasted achievement, been praised, believed happiness lay in more, only to realize that none of it ever reached the deepest part of them. A beautiful bag, a compliment, a promotion, all shine like fireworks, dazzling for a moment then gone. The woman with an old soul understands that joy born of material things is like the wind. Try to hold it, and it disappears. She once ran, tried, convinced herself, just a little more, and I'll finally feel complete. But when she arrived, she found herself still empty, still not truly alive. I once heard the story of a businesswoman named Clara. She had everything society calls success, high income, luxury home, designer wardrobe. Yet one day, sitting in her 40th floor office, staring down at the glittering city lights, a question echoed in her mind. Do all these things truly make me happy? She said that was the moment she realized she'd spent her whole life building a sandcastle, grand but fragile, one wave away from collapse. A few years later, Clara left her job, moved to the suburbs, and began teaching children how to paint. I lost everything, she said, but for the first time, I have myself. The woman with an old soul understands that material things aren't evil. They just can't fill the void of the soul. She still suddenly exhaled and kept drawing. Just that one small gesture was enough to restore his trust, as if his young heart recognized that this was a safe place to be himself. With the elderly, she finds a rare serenity. In their eyes, she sees surrender, the kind of wisdom that only those who've suffered enough can carry. Talking with them feels like hearing the voices of souls who have known, loved, and understood life's laws. Modern science even supports this. Researchers at Stanford University found that when people are near those with stable, empathetic emotional states, their brainwaves tend to synchronize in the alpha frequency, the rhythm associated with calm and safety. Children and elders, whose nervous systems are more sensitive, respond strongly to this kind of energy. That's why they feel peace around women like her, not because of what she says or does, but because her energy itself is comfort. So if a child has ever run to hug you without knowing you, or an old person smiled at you for no reason, perhaps they didn't recognize your face, they recognized your energy. Souls always recognize one another, even before the mind does. The woman with an old soul carries a frequency that hearts at any age can feel. She doesn't need to speak or prove anything. Her mere presence makes the world feel safer, warmer, as if pure love had just brushed past. If this makes you smile, if you've ever felt the trusting gaze of a child or the peaceful smile of an elder, give this video a like. It's not just a button. It's how you send love back into the world, to those souls who can feel, listen, and touch each other not with words, but with presence. Number 9. A natural spiritual thirst. After learning to touch the souls of others, from children to the elderly, she begins to touch the depths of her own. And that's when a new kind of hunger arises, a spiritual thirst. But unlike religious faith born from fear, this thirst comes from the soul's natural need, the longing for meaning beyond reason. She doesn't turn to spirituality for comfort, but for understanding. She reads Greek philosophy, Buddhism, the Bible, Jungian psychology, not to follow anyone, but to remember something she feels she's always known. Because within every spiritual path, despite different languages, hides the same truth. An invitation to return inward. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." Indeed, this woman no longer prays to escape suffering, but to understand it. She doesn't meditate to find peace, but to hear the echo of her deepest self. She realizes that every religion, every philosophy, is just a different road leading to the same ancient well, where the pure water of truth lies still, waiting for those patient enough to look down and see their reflection. I once met someone like that, Hannah, a psychotherapist who shared her story at a Jungian gathering. For years, she worked mechanically, listening to patients through theory and technique. Until one day, a patient asked her, "But you, have you ever been in pain?" She couldn't answer. That question cracked something open inside her. She began leaving her office more often, walking in the woods, sitting in silence for hours, reading Jung, not as a scholar, but as a woman, relearning how to live. At that point, she said, I realized I wasn't studying psychology. Psychology was studying me. It sounded like wordplay, but it was truth. When an old soul begins her spiritual journey, she doesn't learn to gain knowledge. She learns to remember the ancient memory of her soul. This search often makes her walk alone, but never lonely. Because she knows the spiritual path isn't about finding God somewhere else, but walking straight through herself. It's not the path of blind faith, but of awareness. She doesn't pray for miracles, because she knows full presence in this moment is the miracle. Number 10. Eyes that contain time. And then, after all these awakenings, after she's learned to feel, to understand, to be, her soul begins to radiate a light that cannot be faked, the light in her eyes. People say, the eyes are the window to the soul. But for women like her, their eyes are not just windows. They're entire skies containing time itself, where past, present, and future converge, in one still moment. In her gaze, there's something that both sees and strips away. It's as if she doesn't just look at you, she looks through you, reaching the part you've forgotten. There's sorrow in those eyes, but sorrow transmuted into wisdom. Jung called this the light of the self, the deepest part of the psyche, holding the total experience of the soul through all ages. She reminds me of the Greek goddess Athena, with her grey eyes of wisdom, seeing what others cannot. Athena never needed weapons. Her power lay in vision, the ability to see truth hidden beneath chaos. Likewise, the woman with an old soul doesn't fight to win arguments. She simply smiles when others don't yet understand. She knows time itself will teach what words cannot. And like Athena, she becomes a silent guide. At work, she's the calm one when everyone panics. For dealing with the darkness of others. That's why she no longer judges. She knows that even cruelty often springs from fear of being hurt. She sees the wounded child in every adult, in the boss who needs control, the partner who goes silent, the mother who yells, the father who withdraws. She understands that everyone was once a child just wanting to be loved. And that understanding makes her both compassionate and lonely, because few people can live with that much truth. I once met such a woman in a group therapy session. When a young man shared that he often felt angry and didn't know why, she didn't advise or analyze. She simply asked, "Were you ever told to stay silent as a child?" The man burst into tears, not because she caused pain, but because for the first time, someone saw the child inside him. From then, he began to speak instead of suppressing, to forgive himself instead of fighting. The woman with an old soul doesn't try to save anyone. She knows every soul awakens at its own pace. She only plants seeds of light and quietly steps away. Her presence is like a small lamp in a dark room. It doesn't transform the room, but it helps others see their way and dare to move forward. She can no longer live superficially, because once the eyes have seen, the heart cannot unknow. Once you've touched the depth of humanity, you can't go back to surfaces. You can't fake smiles when you know the fear behind them. And you can't hate when you understand that even cruelty is a form of self-defense. The woman with an old soul moves through this world as a silent witness, not above, not outside, but with others, seeing them. Sometimes that simple act of seeing is enough for another soul to begin its journey home. Because to be truly seen is the beginning of healing. What do you think? Among 100 women you've met, how many truly see others with their soul, without judgment, without defense, simply understanding? Write the number you believe in the comments. Maybe, through those numbers, we'll realize a truth. To understand people doesn't require intellect, but a heart that's been broken and still chooses to love. Number 12. She doesn't argue to win, she converses to understand. Having seen human nature so clearly, the woman with an old soul understands this. Most conflicts don't come from differences in opinion, but from the need to be seen. When people argue, they're not seeking truth, they're seeking worth. And because she sees this, she no longer wants to win. She doesn't argue to win, she converses to understand. For the ancient soul, truth isn't something to fight over, but something to explore together. When others try to prove, she listens. When others raise their voices, she slows hers down. Jung once said, "Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge." She's walked far enough to know, no one truly wins an argument, only someone understands deeper. I once witnessed a tense meeting. A young colleague, being criticized for a mistake, grew defensive and loud. Others reacted with irritation. Only one woman, the oldest in the room, remained calm. She didn't interrupt. When the noise faded, she said softly, "I know how it feels to be judged, because I've been there. But tell me, what made you rush this time?" The man lowered his head and whispered, "I was afraid of being useless." The room went silent. In that moment, no more logic was needed, only truth, simple and human. She knows each person can only see to the limit of their consciousness. Instead of convincing, she plants an idea and walks away, knowing the seed will sprout when the soul is ready. Like a gardener sowing in winter, she doesn't need to see spring to believe in it. She trusts the process, trusts the natural awakening of every soul. Our modern world is full of arguments. Everyone wants to speak, few want to listen. Social media has become a battlefield of egos, where every comment is an arrow. Yet amid the noise, the woman with an old soul chooses another frequency. Calm. When others shout, she stays silent. When others need to win, she chooses to understand. If one day you meet someone like that, someone who makes you want to speak honestly and also want to listen, you've likely met an ancient soul. She doesn't teach or persuade, she simply stands as a mirror of stillness. And in that mirror, you see not just her, but yourself for the first time, without defense or disguise. And that is the final gift the woman with an old soul brings to the world. She doesn't need to change anyone, only to be present deeply enough to awaken the brightest part in others. Because when a human being is truly heard, their healing begins. A woman with an old soul is like an ancient candle burning in a dark room, not dazzling, not showy, but warm enough to make others stop and see their way. She doesn't seek to shine brighter than anyone, for true light needs no comparison. It only needs to be. Every wound she's endured becomes a gentle flame. Every loss she's faced turns into a quiet light. She doesn't talk much, doesn't try to convince, but simply by living, she makes others believe that there is power in peace. A small light